I took my glasses off so you guys, I can't see you. My name is Dave, an alcoholic. My sobriety date is September 16, 2014. To tell you a little bit about my past, a little bit, I grew up in Norwalk, and my dad left when 1970, left me there with my mom and my brother. I had spinal meningitis at that time, so I pretty much almost died from it, which caused me to have hard of hearing, deaf in one ear and hard of hearing in another ear, which I wear a hearing aid thanks to Roxy. I came pretty much, I'm a little bit nervous. So I grew up in an environment where, it was pretty much chaos in my house. My mother at the time was drinking and using, and that was pretty much normal for me. We got welfare on the 1st and the 15th, and majority of the time we never had food. So at that time I was living in the one-ways, and I had an Easter basket, and I would go door to door asking people to donate to the church. There was no church. I wanted to feed me and my brothers. That's what I wanted to do. And I remember at that time, being hard of hearing, I had to go to special ed school, and I got picked on a lot because I couldn't hear and I couldn't talk right. I sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher. Everybody else sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher to me too. I got picked on for that. I went to a special ed school, short bus, Long Beach fellow. I couldn't even afford hearing aids at that time. My mom couldn't get me no hearing aids. So when I got to school, they gave me this big strap, and it was a big box in front of me, and I had to walk around all day with that. It was embarrassing. Actually, at that time, it was embarrassing because a lot of people were making fun of me. So right there, I have no self-esteem. I don't feel comfortable about myself. I never felt comfortable about myself. I always tried to fit in, but I just couldn't fit in. No matter what I did, I just felt like I didn't belong. Even in my own home, I didn't feel like I belonged. But when I went to school, it was my safe place. Because I remember a teacher named Miss Ray that I'll never forget. That's what I wanted to be when I got older. I wanted to be a school teacher. You guys understand what a safe place is. A safe place wasn't at home at that time. You should always feel nurtured, should always feel like your confidence is getting built up. You didn't have none of that. And I'm not blaming my mother. And the reason why I say that is because I understood my mom now. My mom went through foster homes herself, rape, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Bottom line is, no one to blame for anything in the past. For me, I like to look at things. As I got older, I continued to, do little odds and end things, try to, hustle so we could have food in the house. There was a lot of times it was cold. There was times social workers came out, there was nothing in the refrigerator. And, I loved my mama. I was a mama's boy. I used to hang out at the bar till 2 in the morning waiting for my mom to come out to make sure she was safe. That was my job. That's what I felt like at that time. I was the one that was protecting my mom. I got to see a lot of horrible stuff that a kid shouldn't see. I'm not going to sit here and go into a lot of details about that, but the bottom line is this: I was never okay with me. I was always trying, everybody was way ahead of me. The fact that I couldn't hear good, it was like, what the hell's going on? Whenever it was like something going down, I was always the last one. That's just the way it was for me. And growing up in the one-ways, I had blue eyes, I had brothers, I had blonde hair, and I'm just speaking my truth. We got jumped all the time. That's what happened. We got beat up every fucking day, excuse my language, but it made me tougher. But at the same time, it was like I was confused. The white people wouldn't accept me, the Mexicans wouldn't accept me. It was like kind of confusing. So I was pretty much a loner. That's what I did, especially wearing a hearing aid. My mother, the chaos continued to go. Then she met my stepdad, which they had 2 more kids. And my stepdad was schizophrenic. It was actually my pops. He's the one that kind of raised me pretty much all those years. He used to beat the shit out of me, sitting on his lap, trying to get me to talk properly. He was like that perfectionist guy. And if I didn't say the word right, just punch me right in the face. I'm like 8, 9 years old. This went on all the time. I busted my head open. Back then, social workers, there was social workers. What the hell is that? They came out and asked me questions. I knew better. I knew better. Again, continued, my dad, one day we were at Thanksgiving dinner, and I know if most of you guys are young, but they had this wine bottle. I don't know, to me it was long neck. And he poured it for all of us, me and my brothers. And I remember taking that first sip of the alcohol. And I remember drinking that alcohol and feeling that warm fuzzy. I had the most confidence. All of a sudden I can dance, I can do things. And my pops, he was proud of me for once. He was proud of me, but I was always petrified, scared of him. I was scared of him. You know, I mean, like you guys don't even know. My childhood was scary the whole time, like living on the eggshells. I didn't know what to expect. And that's just the way it was. It was just like survival in the home. But when I went to school, I felt safe. You know what I mean? And I still remember those teachers, all those teachers, I still remember them. I started, my pops had, him and my mom were always fighting, beating. You know, my mom had black eyes all the time, drunk. My dad, knife marks. You know, I mean, that's just the way it was. I had an older brother named John, a younger brother named Matt, and another brother, Gregory. And it was always us four. It was always us four, no matter what. We were tight no matter what. Even if we got into it, we were just tight. You know, I had a lot of good friends, you know, that they were at school, you know, but there was never no stability. We were always moving, no stability, no stability. Clothes, embarrassed with my clothes. When I had to go to special ed schools, they sent me to these nice, rich schools. And now here I come in there with holes in my pants, and these kids were making fun of me. That's when I started acting out on them. You know what I mean? I started swinging. I had a lot of anger issues. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to socialize. That's what you're supposed to learn in the home. I didn't learn none of that. You know what I mean? And it's not about fault or anything. The bottom line, I'll explain more later for me what it was. I felt like I was behind everybody, you know, with my hearing. It did cause a lot of problems. I refused. They did finally get me a hearing aid. I refused to wear it because of getting picked on, you know, taking the humiliation. As time trudged along, I was at school one day and I get a phone call, not a phone call, but they come get me at the school and said, your mom's in the hospital. I was like 14 years old. I was at high school and I was a lumberada. And I remember seeing my mother hooked up to all those tubes, you know. It freaked the hell out of me. You know, that was really bad for me to see that. I've seen a lot of stabbings, a lot of stuff in the one ways that happened. One of my best friends got shot with a shotgun, wasn't even a gang member. That's just what it was. And it became pretty normal to me. But the bottom line is I kept, you know, I started doing things that I shouldn't have been doing because when my mom sobered up, she wanted us to act right. And I just wasn't ready to act right. I didn't know how to talk. I just wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I started doing little stupid stuff, ending up in juvenile halls and placement, ended up in Camp Scudder, went to YA for 90-day observation. I just didn't know how to act, you know. But every time I got out, I went right back to school and I loved school. That was my safe place. My mom ended up meeting somebody else. And so right then on that spot, I was living on the streets from 14 to 17. I stayed at 605 freeway. I made a nice little spot for myself. And that was the happiest I ever was. But then again, I started drinking. I started, you know, that's what I started with alcohol, you guys. That's why I identify as an alcoholic. Everything started with alcohol for me. I started drinking at that time and I was living under the riverbed. I'd find abandoned houses and get in there and roll up in the carpet. I'm 14 years old. It's raining outside. You know what I mean? I'm rolling up in carpet that I could tell someone's getting ready to do. You get woke up the next day, guys got donuts and coffee. Wow. You know what I mean? But that's pretty bad. You know, a kid has to live on the streets, you know, where he feels comfortable. A lot of people took me in their homes, but I didn't know how to act right. I had opportunities, but I didn't know how to act right, you guys. I was a thief. And I'm just being straightforward with you guys. You know what I mean? That's what I was at that time. And I turned 17. I tried to go back to my mom's house because at that time I was already experimenting with meth, and meth was really good then back then, by the way. You guys, stuff you guys got today is garbage. No, I'm being honest. Just straightforward. But the bottom line is just, you know, when I did the math or I did the alcohol, I always felt confident. But after a while, I wasn't feeling that confident, you know, and I started, you know, doing things that you shouldn't be doing, you know, a lot of stuff that was horrible. At that time, I was turning 18 and I was with my son's mom. And I did some stuff to my mom's boyfriend that I regret because I paid a long price for that, which I basically got 3 strikes already. I got sentenced to prison time. You know, when I was 18, 19 years old, I got sentenced to prison, had an E number. I went to prison. I was scared. These dudes were yoked. And I was scared. I thought I heard all these war stories. I'm thinking, man, they're gonna fucking tear me up. I get in there, man, it wasn't even like that. But what it was is a damn warehouse. But I got accepted. These guys accepted me. I felt comfortable with these guys, and I'm thinking that they got a lot of love for me. They got a mission for me to do. Which is, they want to put me on a mission. I'm not going to sit here and talk about prison because I want to talk more about what happens down the long run. Prison's a joke, okay? You guys keep going back to prison. I got tired of it. I got sick and tired of going to prison. I got tired of being told when to do, you know what I mean? I got out in 2007. By the way, I already had 3 kids. I had 3 boys, David, Derek, and Daniel. Those were my world, okay? My first kid's mom, she was my love. But she had a lot of mental health. And I didn't understand that then. I didn't know how to deal with that. And I never gave up on her. But the bottom line is just because I always wanted a family, you guys. All I ever wanted was a family. But I didn't know how to make a family because I was a little boy. I was scared. See, I could say this today. I wouldn't say this in 2007 to you guys because I'm a man. You know what I mean? I was a scared little boy, didn't know how to live life on life's terms. That's straight up truth. And when I came to Fred Brown's in 2007, a guy named Ernest picked me up in Norwalk. And that guy made me so comfortable driving back that I felt comfortable, like I was home. I got to Fred Brown's and they told me, get a sponsor, do this, do this, do this. I didn't have a problem doing service and unity. I just didn't want you to look at me and know what's really going on with me. I was worried you guys were all going to judge me. That's the least of my worries, but I came to Fred Brown's and I had the best time of my life. The best time in my life for the first freaking time. And it didn't matter if you were black, Mexican, it did not matter. When I got here, some black guy was smoking a cigarette. And I remember him, Mike, he passed away, handed me a cigarette and I go, I'm not allowed to smoke after blacks. That was what my mentality was. And then I had this counselor named Diane Chavez. Short, you know what I mean? That's what, but she would call me on my crap, you know what I mean? I had long hair when I came in here and I went upstairs and I said, I was like a little kid. And I go, can I go get a haircut? She goes, no. And I got pissed off and I ran down the stairs like a little kid. But she did that on purpose to me, to see if I can take a no. I was just a little boy at that time, but I learned a lot about myself. But what I didn't do, I wasn't willing to do that. I was not willing to do that, you guys. I was scared. The minute I sat in here, that's all I stared at right now. That's all I stared at because that's everything to me, big time. So I ended up saving my money. We talked about this earlier. I started saving up my money, which I never had that opportunity. Get out of prison and I went straight to the streets. I had an opportunity to save my money for 9 months. And I was able to go get me a little garage for about 6 months. But I was falling apart. I really was falling apart. And a good buddy of mine, Kenny, had told me if I wanted a job as a house manager. I was like, sure, why not? And I did that. And at the time, I didn't have a hearing aid. So imagine, I couldn't even hear hardly. And then I got my teeth fixed. I got my hearing aid on. I got glasses. And I started feeling a little bit more confident about myself. And at that time, I got in a relationship. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Nothing bad, but I was not ready for a relationship. And the reason why I say that is because when I completed my 12 steps later on, I realized, what the hell did I get myself into? You know what I mean? That's just why, because perception changed. But I continued to work here at Fred Brown's, but I wasn't honest with myself. I wasn't true to myself. You can bullshit everybody else, but if you're not true to yourself, it's all irrelevant. It doesn't mean nothing. I ended up started drinking. Like I said, I started on alcohol and I started drinking. Bottom line is I ended up started doing meth, and that's when I was pissed. The meth was garbage. You know what I mean? And but I still felt like I was raising someone else's kid, and I wasn't even going to see my own. And the reason why was because I was so scared. I didn't know what the hell to do. I didn't even know how to be a father as the other kid. Like I said, you guys, I was still a little boy trapped in a man's body. That's the straight truth. I didn't have nothing to show for it. I end up getting really bad, and when I relapsed, I ended up going to Huntington Beach. A friend of mine, Deborah Kelsley, who got me into one of these fancy 3-story private insurance places. I got there, could not believe it. There was like steaks, and these guys were all like the Club Med, and I was like, and here I was feeling like shit. I get in there and I'm in with these guys, and I'm getting triggered because these guys are like rich kids. I'm getting triggered against my own character defect. I'm jealous. I'm jealous that they have more than what I have. I've always been jealous. Always, my whole life's been jealousy. And that's another thing. There's a lot of stuff that goes with it. But when I got to Surf City, which was in Huntington Beach, it wasn't Surf City that so much that made me who I was. It was stuff I had learned already at Fred Brown's. I was already structured. Fred Brown's helped me be structured. Fred Brown's helped me stay on a routine. Fred Brown's gave me so many opportunities that no other place could. So when I went to this place, I already had structure. So I was ready, but I was dying inside, you guys. I couldn't do this anymore. I was going to commit suicide. I could not do this anymore. Not a good father. I'm cheating on my wife. I never go see my kids. I'm lying all the time. I'm spending money on scratchers. I got a gambling problem too, you guys, like scratchers. You know what I mean? I'll go spend a whole paycheck on it. I went through Surf City. My home group is a beach meeting, which is at Huggers. It's a great meeting, but I got to put my feet in the sand, and that's when I found my spirituality. What I mean by that is I heard a message, and I knew everything was going to be okay for that time. And that was the first time in my life I never had cravings. How many of you guys struggle with cravings? I hate those, and so what are you going to do about those cravings? What do you do? Well, I know what I had to do. I had to start get a sponsor. I got a sponsor that was half my age younger, talking shit to me, telling me, call him at 6 a.m. in the morning. If I called at 6:01, told me call back the next day. I was like, what the heck? I was getting pissed. But I stayed busy. I started getting into step work, and I already went through the steps in four months. Here I was at Fred Brown's, and I wouldn't even do it. It was just because I was scared. I didn't know what to expect. But when my sponsor finally, he opened up a little bit, he said, this is what it is with me. And I go, holy crap, I'm not as bad as him. Whew, here, let me read my stuff. It wasn't that bad, but I judge myself worse than anybody can judge me.
That's right.
I judge myself worse. No one beats me up more than I beat myself.
Absolutely.
Everything's a delusion for me. I always think everybody's thinking about me like in a negative way. That's delusional for me. That's how I operate. My head, this is not a safe place to be. Still not today. I stay super busy all the time. So I've always been institutionalized. I had an apartment when I was at Fred Brown's on 15th Street. My girlfriend was there at the time with her kid. I got the place. I'd rather stay at the Fred Brown's. I was comfortable there. That was my spot. I love this place. This place was everything to me. And by the way, we only had a couple houses back then. We only had the 13th Street, we only had 19th Street, and we had the 14th Street. That's what I remember. It's huge now. So when I was at Surf City, basically I was there for about 7 months, and I started doing therapy. And the reason why I started doing therapy is because I had a lot of bullshit crap going on with me, you guys. And when I did therapy, it changed my life. And if you guys understand what therapy is, see, we're men. We're not supposed to talk about our emotions and feelings and all that. Just like when I came to Fred Brown's, Diane handed me she said, how you feeling? I said, okay. She goes, nah, that ain't a feeling. Handed me a feeling round. I was like, what the hell is all this shit? Feeling rounds. I was so detached. But while I was at Surf City doing therapy, I started opening up more, started feeling more comfortable with myself, started feeling more confident, going to the gym a lot. I did CrossFit for the first time, 90 days. I did CrossFit. I got first place in Huntington Beach. Proudest day of my accomplishment. I finally accomplished something. I wasn't accomplishing another CDC number. You know what I mean? I want to accomplish positive things today. So I knew I didn't want to drink or use no more, but I didn't know how still to live at home. And Deborah Kelsley sent me home. She made me go home. I was trying to be a house manager again. She said, "Now your ass is going home." We went home, and at that time, I want to take back. I apologize, guys. I want to take it back when I was at Fred Brown's. I want to tell you why I relapsed. I was took somebody to the barber, and I got a call from my mother. Remember, I got 3 brothers. I get a phone call from my mom. My mom never calls me. She don't call me for nothing. I got a call that my brother was in the hospital, that he overdosed. And I got to the hospital, Costa Plaza in Norwalk, and probably the worst tragedy of my life, you guys. And I held on to my brother's hand for 7 days. I came back to Fred Brown's for a 3-hour nap and went right back and held on to his hand and fell asleep on his, like, you know what I mean? I wanted my brother to come back. You know, I wanted him. I couldn't get him back. And right after that's when I went off drinking. So that's the part I miss right there. I went off drinking. I had no defense because why? I never even did this. I never even did this. I never even did those steps. And that was the hardest tragedy of my life. Not getting beat up, not all the crap. And, you know, it was losing my brother. You know, my brother lived on the streets for most of his life. You know, and so back to Earth City, I'm doing pretty good. For me, it really comes down to, because I'm very sneaky, it's what do I do when no one's looking? That's what counts for me. What do I do when no one's looking? And that's a hard struggle for me, even to this day. You know, I have to like stay on top of myself. If I explain to you guys that I don't like to be here, I don't like to be here. I don't like too much sitting time. I like to be busy, productive, busy. If I'm at home, I'm doing work around the house. If I'm at my job, I'm going above and beyond. After that, I go to a meeting. I hit 2 to 3 meetings a week. My beach meeting is my home group. I love my home group because I like putting my feet in the sand and just listen to Diane Chavez told me this a long time ago. Have you ever paid attention to like the birds, this, that? No, I never did. And I learned to sit there and listen to that, the nature. Yeah. That's what I like. I love the nature. I feel free. I like doing outdoor stuff, I like going hiking. I like going to Yosemite. I like doing stuff. I look for ways to make myself feel happy. We get caught up in this world that's going on. It's stressful for a lot of us. And that's why I have to continue to take care of David. You know, today I'm very proud of my son, Derek. You know, I'm very proud because a father knows when he can tell, look at his kid and tell when something's up. Yes. He can tell. He knows. My grandmother looked at me one day when I told her I was done. That was before Ernest picked me up. And she goes, I can see it in you. I can see it. I've been praying. And I didn't know my grandmother ever prayed. Never knew Grandma Lou. And she told me that. And I'll never forget that. But coming into recovery, if you're given 90%, if I'm given 90%, I'm going to relapse. I have to go above and beyond for me. That's the bottom line. Today, I have like relationships with people that you wouldn't even imagine. People can count on me today. You know, they're not like locking their doors. I mean, you know, and I remember feeling rejected my whole life. Like, man, I was out there just trying to get high and just trying to find somewhere to sleep. And I don't want to have to live that lifestyle no more. You know, I've had stability. I've been in the same freaking house for 12 years. That's a miracle. I haven't gone back to prison. And I shouldn't say a miracle, it's an act of God for me, my higher power that I choose. Life can be a lot of ups and downs, but no matter what, I don't give up. I don't give up. I don't. And I continue to work with my sponsor, and I continue to work with my sponsees. And that's what it's about. That's the secret for me. That is the secret. And also I take care of my health. I've had some scares coming for me. I got stomach ulcers last year, caused severe depression, but I bounced back and I started going holistic. I started, you know, using aloe vera from like Brazil, I believed in the remedies for ulcers and took care of it. I'm all about getting in the solution. Thank you. That's it, you guys. Thank you.